Good afternoon world from De Rosa del Mar, back in the north of Siargao Island here in the Philippines.
So today we thought we would clear up some confusion maybe about why we have returned to the Philippines, because I think a few people thought we were going back to the UK and that was that. We weren't coming back here.
Yes, I mean,
and we're back.
after spending 6 weeks in the UK and making some really beautiful videos about everything that we experienced there, all of the time we spent with our family and everything, I do think that it might not be absolutely obvious to everyone why we choose to live here in the Philippines. So today we thought we would answer a few commonly asked questions and also just kind of clear up some points as to why personally we prefer living in the Philippines over the UK at this stage in our life.
So let's start with the very obvious reason. This is how we are spending our weekend. Story playing on the beach. The sea is warm, Poppy is here making friends. She has actually just gone for a big run off lead on the beach. Although we are probably going to run out of beach time soon because look at that stormy cloud rolling in here. But even with the stormy clouds, we're still on the beach in our sundresses.
No, not me.
T-shirts, swimming in the sea, which is lovely and warm.
Yeah.
That is a bonus. The sea is warm here.
I think these are some of the obvious reasons. You know, when you think about a vacation or a holiday, this kind of image, a tropical island, warm seas, clear waters, is point number one. Story, our daughter, loves the water. She just enjoys being in the sea, and the clarity, the warmth, just it feels like that kind of paradise moment when you step in the warm water. And that is one of the main differences between the UK and Europe sea versus the sea you get out here in Asia. It's a different game altogether. We're just going to take a seat over by this lovely restaurant and resort where we've just had our late lunch, early dinner.
Yeah, well, very early dinner, but it was a late lunch.
Yeah.
But, we've come to our favourite place up here in the north purely because this is just such a lovely beach. It's one of the nicest bits of beach here that we feel anyway on the island. It's just so tropical, even in a kind of cloudy, stormy day. It's just still so beautiful.
So that leads to another obvious point to mention is the cost of living here in the Philippines is a lot less than what we experience in the UK and in the West. Therefore, our money goes further. We can do more when it comes to weekends or our time off. To be able to go to a beachside location like this, have a satisfying meal, shakes, coffee and everything will always cost us way less than it does in the UK. If you could even find a place like this in the UK, you can't. It wouldn't exist unless you were in a fancy hotel, and the cost would reflect that. So our lifestyle is just leagues higher out here because we basically spend a lot less than we save. So that makes life a lot more comfortable for us, and it was another big factor in deciding to come back here to the Philippines to live versus in the UK. I also love the fact that rules are more relaxed around here, so you can just bring your dog with you to a lovely beachside resort and everybody's welcome. There's no rule about whether or not kids are allowed in. That kind of stuff can happen in the West. It might even be impossible to comprehend that there are some establishments that say you can't bring kids in, like adults only. Even in some other European countries we've been to, we've seen places that say no kids allowed after 8 p.m, adults only, and stuff like that. And here on this island, it just feels free, you know.
Yeah. There are some places in the UK that we saw that the UK is quite pet friendly, I have to say. There's a lot of places that have signs up saying dogs allowed and dogs welcome and things like that. There's water bowls put out for your pets in restaurants and pubs, and lots of country walks and beaches, and so much free space where it is great for a dog. But at the same time, there's kind of an underlying thing that yes, your dog is welcome if they're good.
Yes,
if they're very well behaved, seen and not heard.
There's a lot of rules. There was one experience.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there was one restaurant we went to where it said, dogs welcome, bring your dog in, la la la. And then on the wall, once you were inside, it said, we have a strict 3 barks and you're out policy. So if you bring your dog in and it barks more than 3 times, they chuck you outside.
Yeah, they're not welcome.
Yeah, so you don't want a noisy dog in the restaurant, even though they're dog friendly, you know.
So dogs are welcome, but they're also not welcome.
Yeah.
So rules, I think this is the next major point.
Rules, a lot of just things that you don't even think about that should be a rule. it's a rule. You're like, but why is that a rule? It just doesn't make sense, you know.
And that applies to driving your car, parking your car,
there's
where you can stand.
Strict rules on parking, and everything is on a camera. You know, you're watched constantly. Yeah,
if you make one mistake, then you'll get a fine or a penalty through the door to your home address saying you made this crime. You know, you need to pay this money. And
which
it's just
we
like,
did do.
Yes,
in
it happens.
6 weeks, we got a car fine.
We got penalties
for not paying a toll bridge charge on time.
There's so many little things that all add up into this kind of big brother mentality where you're always being watched and you're always kind of on edge of doing something wrong, and that leads to stress, anxiety, and that can affect your health. And these are some of the things we weigh up when we talk about which country we want to stay in long term.
I mean, it's not always a bad thing. We're not saying that kind of thing is a bad thing, because it can have its perks. It can be beneficial in some situations. If you were a victim of crime, per se, that you would need evidence, then it's there. But if you're just a general person going about your life, it can feel a little bit, ooh, who's watching me now? How many eyes are on me? Even if you're not doing anything wrong, you start kind of second guessing yourself. So it can feel a little bit
intense, I think. And also, where we live out here, crime is very low, right? So you don't even really think about whether or not you need to have CCTV watching your every move all the time. You just experience a completely different level of human interaction. I don't walk around thinking, oh, what happens if I leave my car there? What happens if I do this? Whereas when you live in a city environment, it feels a bit different. And I'm sure maybe if you lived in the centre of Manila or something, you might have some of those feelings. But our choice to come back here to Siargao is because we don't feel that here.
And we're not being naive. We obviously know that crime does happen here. We don't live in a crimeless island, but it's minimal. And it's not, it's not scary crime. There's no big things going on, like it can happen in London and bigger cities. So we know that it does happen. There's theft and break-ins and things like that, but it's not
as common
it is in the UK.
One thing that I have to admit about our time in the UK is that I have really realised now how beautiful that country is. There is so much there, and there's so much variety of scenery, history, just like the buildings, the bridges, the canals, the landscape in itself. It is stunningly beautiful, and it's just it blew my mind, some of the stuff that we saw when we were travelling around in the UK. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. And I am English, and there is always going to be a little part of me that wants to be in England. Of course it is. It's my home, it's where I grew up, it's where my family is. And going back for this short 6 weeks trip really kind of made me remember and realise how great it can be there. Especially for all the things that I love, long walks in the countryside and just free space everywhere. The temperature, obviously England can get really cold and snowy and freezing, but when it's good, it's very, very good.
Yes, and I think that's what we came to the conclusion of in the end. We went back into the UK in its peacock season. It was the best summer we've had forever.
It was very idyllic.
We were in
lovely
holiday mode. We were spending every single day without even thinking about work. It was very much like the perfect UK vacation. And because of that, we have this very, very high image and impression of what the UK means to us right now. But realistically, we also both know that that level of life is not sustainable in the UK unless you are a multi-millionaire. And even then, when everybody goes back to work and all your family are back in school and stuff like that, you won't have those same experiences long term. Story has asked me to come over here to see what she's up to. What have you been building while we've been talking?
Look.
Oh, I see. Can you come and explain it to me?
It's a sandcastle.
Yeah. I love the way you've put the circle around it as well. Is that like a moat for the water?
I made it like that because I was supposed to fill up the crack with sand.
Oh, I see.
So it looks like it's just the ground.
Well, when it rains, it will probably make a nice little river all the way around it.
Oh, it'll sink in though.
Another plus for the Philippines is
Poppy.
Poppy's here.
Yeah, of course.
We really missed Poppy when we were in the UK, even though we knew she was being absolutely wonderfully looked after by my dad. It just, you know, dogs have a way of making you feel at home, or they just add something. And we had rented this lovely cottage while we were in the UK, and it was lovely, but there was just something missing, and that was Poppy. And if she was there with us, we would have loved that, but obviously
we would have stayed longer for sure, because
yeah.
obviously bringing a pet across the world, you usually have to justify it. But yeah, having a dog makes you feel at home. Poppy was in our home. And also, let's not forget, when we left to move to the Philippines, we didn't intentionally move to the Philippines in the beginning. It was a happy accident.
Yeah, it was lockdown.
Yeah, it was lockdown, and all of the stuff that we moved from our house before came from Portugal and ended up in our house in the Philippines. So our whole life, all our possessions and our dog and our current home are here on Siargao Island. So we always knew that we would be coming back to that, because as we always say, home is a feeling, and right now this is where we feel like we're at home. We feel at peace, we have a better lifestyle, we have our dog here. Story loves it here. Story goes to school here when she wants to, and when she doesn't, we homeschool her all around the Philippines, and there are so many benefits to that.
The sea was being kind to me.
Yeah? In what way?
It gave me a shell.
The sea gave you a shell?
Look.
Just like Moana.
Aww.
That is beautiful.
And look behind it.
Do you want to take that one home?
Yeah. All of these.
Add them to your collection, yeah?
All of these, look.
They're fantastic, aren't they? They look good. Did you find all of those today?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Look. Okay, this is a rare shell part, and that is just a flat shell. That is a green rock. This is another rare shell part. That's another rare shell part. That is a sea urchin shell. It looks like a sea urchin. That is just a broken shell. That is a green rock, and that is just a regular shell. Just a swirly shell.
I also like to mention that it is really nice for us, like people from the West, to be surrounded by a completely different culture. It makes life more interesting in so many ways, and this is something that we always tend to pine for when we've been in Europe for too long. Like, Europe is beautiful, it's amazing, there's so many good things about it, but after a while it does start to feel a bit samey to us, because it's too close to us. And we want to be surrounded by something exotic, different and chaotic, and you get that in the East, and you get that out here in the Philippines. And I feel like the Philippines has a good balance between the East and the West, because, you know, it's so much easier to communicate with local people because more people understand English out here, which of course is a massive benefit to people that only speak English. It means we can build relationships with people that perhaps we couldn't do in some other East Asian countries as well. So there are many pluses for this lifestyle when we get that urge to do something crazy, or we want to do something exotic. Here springs to mind because it is a very good balance of everything.
Yes, although a slight con for the Philippines is how kind of difficult it is to travel around. Like, we love to go on road trips and we love to drive, which the UK is great for, because you get in your car, you can drive.
Here in the Philippines,
here it's very difficult to travel by car. It's a lot of flights, and if you've got a dog, you can't always fly.
Logistically, it needs work.
It's a struggle.
I did hear though that the Philippines is really focusing on connecting the islands. Tourism is their main focus moving out of the pandemic. So I'm hoping that in the near future it will get easier for people like us who like to really travel around as a family in the car.
That would be amazing.
It would be absolutely unbelievable.
If it starts getting connected by bridges, that would be absolutely fantastic. Because that would mean more road trips, and that is what we are all about. We love a road trip.
So speaking about that, we do have a very imminent plan to get back in the car and explore more of the Philippines now that the restrictions have died down to almost nothing, and travelling around will be much more enjoyable with a family. We want to see more of this country so we can build a better opinion about it, and, you know, just kind of weigh up more of the pros and reasons for why we decided to stay here at this stage in our life.
We were talking to a friend just when we arrived here for lunch, and she said, "Oh, what's your plan now that you're back?" It's like, ultimately our plan for the island kind of is the same. There's no change, but this is where we are going to base ourselves and live from. But ultimately we want to travel more, and we want to travel around the Philippines and maybe some close by other Asian countries. But I'd say for the next year we want to travel. We want to see more of the Philippines, and hopefully we can do some of that by car.
Yes, exactly. And also one of our other big plans is that we do want to have some kind of permanent home here in the Philippines as well, so that we can have somewhere out on this side of the world that's ours. And yes, I know we've spoken about this a lot before, but it's going to become more of an imminent plan, and then we will have this side of the world and that side of the world as a balance to our lifestyle, and that I believe would be the absolute dream if we can make it happen. So I hope that kind of clarifies a little bit of the pros and cons and the reasons why we are currently chosen to stay and base our life here in the Philippines. There's plenty more we could talk about, but this video would be an hour long. So we'll just cover it in our adventures around. If you've been hearing some banging and construction during this video, it's because they are working here on this beautiful beachside hut.
They've redone one of their beach ocean view huts. They've done a lot of work here at Devosa post storm.
Yes.
And it is looking amazing. Really good. But just I think 2 more rooms and then they'll be finished and fully up and running again, which is amazing.
Yeah, we've got a plan to come and stay here maybe in a week's time, so we can make a nice proper review of this place and all of the upgrades that's been done, and then we can spend some time swimming in this beautiful ocean. Quick update from me. I'm very healthy. Look at me, look at my ears. Look at those, they're still massive. You still enjoying life, Poppy? Yeah, I'm happy that you brought me out to the restaurant. It's nice to come out.
She's a little bit unsettled because there's thunder and lightning, so she won't rest right now. She's just constantly up.
We'll be taking her home soon. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.